And may we have roll call, I guess. Oh, I'm sorry. We have an acting chair that I'd like to invite to Mr. Lanza. Oh, there you are. Okay.
Mayor,
Go ahead.
moving around. This is going to be a little bit different meeting, and I'm in this awkward position of doing things for you, but it is all consistent with things that you have already approved. So we've got a short presentation that we'll give you on some of the actions today. This is it's the next step. It's the next step on a trip you started back in March of 2012 when redevelopment was eliminated. The council made, I think, the bold decision to say, all right, we're going to move past that and we're going to create something of our own for our community, and we're going to do it by our own rules. And we're not going to be subject to outside influences like you were in redevelopment. So this is the next step. As I say, you adopted an economic development ordinance in March of 2012. In May of this year, you reviewed articles of incorporation, bylaws, you approved those, and you directed staff to continue and complete the formation of a 501c3 corporation. That's what we're here to do today. As I said, it's a little bit awkward because you as a board don't exist yet until somebody incorporates you, and I've been given that honor to do today. So I have a few things that I need to put on the record, and then I will immediately resign as the incorporator, and you will take over as the board. The first order of business will be to designate a vice chair. In the bylaws, it just says that the board is made up of the 5 council members. It identifies the mayor as the chairman and says a council person should be the vice chair. So as a first order of business, we'll ask you to have a discussion on whether you want to, 1, just use the mayor pro tem and have a vice chair on a rotating basis, or whether you'd like to appoint somebody permanently for the entire year. That's a decision that we wanted you to make as a board.
Mr. Mayor,
and then
all these, do we have to do a motion, or just, if we just say it?
You will do it by motion. Much like you do, they'll call for nominations and you have your discussion as whether you want to do that. Finally, there will be a resolution for you to adopt to, in a sense, get me out of that awkward situation, and that will be to ratify all of those things that the incorporator has put in place, the bylaws, the articles of incorporation. Just before we do that, though, because once I do take care of that business, I will turn it over to you. We just wanted to give you a quick outline of some of the work plan that we'll be doing as a corporation. Similar to, or not similar to, exactly the goals that you identified through the budget process are there, and we'll be working in 6 different areas that are there on the right to achieve those goals. Some of the programs that we want to, that we're working on and creating is a broker incentive program. That is to entice brokers to work on specific users or tenants that we would like to bring to Glendale, or to have them fill and address specific vacancies that have been out there a long time. We are working with the Community Development Department to create an economic development element to the general plan. This is something new that as we go through the general plan, we would like to add that so that you can lend your vision to how you would like to see economic development unfold in different parts of the city and really tailor it to each of those. We're focusing in this coming year on Montrose and the area around Memorial Hospital. We will be developing a strategy to utilize social media platforms like our website, a new website, like Facebook, like Twitter, so that we can actively promote activities, special events, businesses that are happening and going on in the city of Glendale. And finally, we would really like to develop this concept of asset management, active asset management and deployment, so that we can use the existing public assets, maintain their objective for the reason we purchase them, but maximize their value. One of the first things in this area you'll see is a proposal to market right-of-way that you decide for a cell tower and develop a cell tower plan, I should say a wireless master plan, because it may be opportunities not to use towers. So those are some of the programs that we're working on. One thing that we will keep a very close eye on is the State and State Department of Finance and how they treat the city's loan to the redevelopment agency. Without that full value of the loan, it'll be very difficult to program economic development, as well as some other financial issues that will arise in 2 to 3 years. But we'll be working very closely with the city manager, with the city attorney's office to ensure that we're able to take full advantage of that. Last, before I jump into my formal duties, I really do want to thank Darlene Sanchez, Yvette Nukian, and Jillian Van Meiden, who were all key in putting this together. You are about to approve something that is very unique and is just as important as the last item that you heard, where you have public, private, and nonprofit coming together. You're creating something new that we think will be an excellent vehicle to move economic development forward for Glendale. So without any further ado, I have some formalities that I have to put onto the record. It is a little dry and boring, but as your incorporator, I hereby resolve that Ardashis Kasakian is appointed as this corporation's agent for service of process in California as required by Section 5130 of the California Corporations Code. And I have presented him with a copy of the bylaws that are in your packet. I hereby adopt the bylaws attached hereto and marked as Exhibit A on the document that I am authorizing as the bylaws of the corporation. The Secretary is hereby authorized and directed to execute a certification of the adoption of the bylaws and to file the bylaws as so certified in the minute book of the corporation, and to see that a copy of the bylaws similarly certified is kept at the principal offices of the corporation in accordance with Section 5160 of the California Corporations Code. I, as the incorporator, the bylaws provide for the initial board of directors and the officers of the corporation, except for the vice chair, which shall be a member of the city council, either the mayor pro tem or any other member of the city council, which will be decided on by the board of directors once you are elected. As the sole incorporator, I hereby elect the following persons as the initial directors of the corporation to hold office until the next annual meeting, which will be in April to coincide with the reorganization of the council, and remain a member of the board of directors of the corporation. I'm sorry, I missed something here.
Successors.
The 5 individuals who serve as members of the City Council of the City of Glendale to each constitute 5 of the board members of the corporation, and each member of the City Council to be and remain a member of the Board of Directors of the corporation for a term that is concurrent with their term on the City Council. So I hereby elect Laura Friedman, Ara Najarian, Zadeh Sananian, Dave Weaver, and Frank Quintero, noting that Paula Devine will fill the unexpired seat vacated by Rafi Manukian, currently filled by Mr. Quintero, at the oath of office ceremony at 6 p.m. on July 8, 2014. We're getting a 2-for-1 today.
Short term.
As the incorporator, as the sole incorporator, I also elect the following persons as the initial officers of the corporation, again per the bylaws, whereas the vice chair of the board shall be appointed by the board of directors. Chair of the board will be the mayor, Zadeh Sananian. Chief executive officer will be the city manager, Scott Ochoa. Chief operating officer will be the director of economic development, Philip Lanzafame. Chief financial officer will be the director of finance, Bob Elliott. And the secretary will be Ardashis Kasakian. Having so adopted the bylaws of the corporation, elected the directors of the corporation, and elected the members of officers of the corporation, I hereby turn over this meeting to the new chairman and resign as the incorporator of the corporation effective immediately.
Thank you, Mr. Lanzafame. So now can we have roll call, please?
Board members: Friedman.
Here.
Najarian.
Here.
Quintero.
Here.
Weaver.
Here.
Chair Sinanian.
Here. And what's the first order of business?
It is the selection of Director of Economic Development regarding formation of Glendale Economic Development Corporation, 1A resolution approving the formation of the Glendale Economic Development Corporation, and the selection of a vice chair.
Make the motion as presented by Mr. Lanzafame.
How's the vice chair work into that? We pass this motion and then we select the vice chair?
Aren't we on the issue of...
Mr. Chair, the way the current resolution is drafted, as I understand, is it approves this resolution as well as it has the name of a blank for the name of the vice chair. So it would be within the board's discretion to either name an individual on the council to be the vice chair for the remainder of the term, or to have it be the mayor pro tem, or such other form as the board so chooses.
Will the
Friedman?
maker
Mayor
of,
pro tem.
so it could be part of the motion, right?
Yes.
Will the maker of the motion allow a friendly amendment that the vice chair be the mayor pro tem, so it rotates every month? So the way
Second.
that
Agree.
Yeah, that's fine.
Certainly.
okay, I second the motion.
Can we have roll call,
But
please?
before
You have to
that, I
have-
was hoping we could get a credit report on Mr. Kasakian and Mr. Lanzafame down in Brad Street.
We want to make sure, though, that we prorate your salary for these few hours, Mr. Montero.
Hey, big check.
Ready for roll
Anything
call?
else we have to do?
Roll call.
Yes.
Board members: Friedman,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Montero,
Yes.
Weaver,
Aye.
Chair Sinanian.
I'm sorry, Mr. Najarian never voted. Can we have...
Yes, but I do have a couple questions. Number one,
Is this post-vote or...
this is post-vote, but I
Post-vote,
think we
okay,
need
yes,
to
then.
be clear. The idea of this was to pick up a lot of the duties and responsibilities that our redevelopment agency used to perform. One of the powers that the redevelopment agency had was to invoke eminent domain. I don't see that any of the powers in this corporation under our bylaws permit us that act. Is there any way that a amendment can be made to the bylaws that would give us the legal authority to consider eminent domain on any property?
First of all, going back to the ordinance that you adopted in 2012, the council specifically took that out. So our code does not authorize that. So I'm guessing you would have to put that back in, and then I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Van Meiden.
That's correct, Mr. Chair, members of the corporation. We would have to take a look at whether or not an amendment would be appropriate under the circumstances. The corporation can also work with the city. The city has eminent domain powers at this time. They're certainly not the same that the redevelopment agency had, which was for the elimination of blight. Cities simply don't have that power. It would be for public need and necessity, the traditional means. So the corporation's power to condemn would be limited to that of the city in any event until there are additional powers provided through state law.
And if I could add, there is case law indicating that a city might have the authority to use eminent domain for economic development powers. It would certainly be controversial, and it would certainly be subject to an issue that had to be resolved at some point. And we would have to look at whether the corporation would ever be able to ascribe to that authority. It's doubtful, but again, something the city can always use if it can justify it as an appropriate public purpose.
We haven't shied away from controversial eminent domain issues, referencing the Best Western Golden Key Hotel issue that eventually worked out. But anyway, that's fine. I'll accept that. My next question is, so we're a corporation now. Is there any requirement that we have open meetings? There is?
There is.
Yes. This was that was one of the questions that the council initially had when considering the formation of the corporation. To what extent are there limitations, similar limitations that the city has with respect to open meeting laws and other issues such as debt limitations, things of this nature, and how do those apply to the corporation? At this point in time, based on the extensive research that we've done and knowing that there are not that many other local economic development corporations that aren't private. This is a solely public economic development corporation, the members of which are the city council. The Public Meetings Law, the Brown Act, and limitations related to prevailing wages and other things like that, similar requirements also apply to the corporation at this point in time.
Is that in our bylaws?
Yes, it is.
Details that?
Yes, it does. And certainly we're available to respond to any questions as they come up as we're processing through corporate activities.
Yes, Ms. Friedman?
I have a question. I just want to make it clear to the public. We're not being paid to be on this corporation, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, I just want to make that clear to people. And secondly, in terms of the business development and attraction and the business services, I just want to make it clear that one of the things that I would like this corporation to focus on is ways to help small businesses in our community, not just in terms of attraction, but certainly in terms of retention and just helping make things easier for our small businesses when they go through our permit process, when they deal with the city. When I was on the redevelopment agency, one of the things that was important to me and which with my colleagues we were able to achieve was streamlining for our businesses as well as flexibility, so that when they wanted to do something reasonable that became a cumbersome bureaucratic process, we found ways of making it easier for them by empowering our community director and others to really look at what was going to happen and to make some decisions, even, and to not have to always go to planning commission, to go to city council, but empowering them to make decisions to allow businesses to proceed with their plans in an easier way for our businesses. So I just want to make it clear that I see this very much as being a tool to help our businesses and help our small businesses in particular. And I look forward to working with the business community on doing that. That will be one of my focuses as an officer of this corporation.
Thank you, Ms. Friedman. And do we need to declare formally who the vice chair of the board is? Or who's the mayor pro tem?
Currently, it's Board Member Weaver.
Weaver.
Yeah, for
Congratulations.
about 2 weeks.
And what's next?
Some motion
Adjournment?
to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
And we are adjourned at 3:50 p.m. Okay. Please come to order for the July 8th